Hello and welcome to Sig Mechanics. This shortcuts video will show you how to identify a broken or missing striker reset spring on your P320 and the steps required to replace the spring and rectify the issue. The first symptom you will likely notice is that the striker's head is protruding from the breech face when you dry fire the pistol. A quick note here, if your reset spring is lightly crushed or only slightly misshapen, it's possible that you won't see this degree of striker head exposure, but the video will show you how to verify the spring's condition if you follow it along. The reset spring is located internal to the striker housing, and therefore we need to disassemble the entire striker assembly in order to access it. First, check to make sure that your firearm is safe. Then you can use a plastic non-marring tool to push down on the extractor spring guide while simultaneously pushing down on the slide cap with your thumb to remove it. Now you can extract the striker assembly from the slide. Now put the striker assembly on a hard surface and compress the main spring so that the plastic cups fall below this edge molded into the striker body. Now firmly hold down the mainspring and remove the plastic cups with your fingers, and then you can release the tension on the mainspring and remove the mainspring from the body. At this point, be aware that the small reset spring is inside the housing, so removing the striker from the housing will expose the reset spring, but it might also cause the reset spring to fall out with the striker in the next step. So proceed with caution so you don't lose the reset spring. Compress the safety lock lever with your fingers, and then with the lock lever in the up position, extract the striker all the way through the body. Take a look inside the channel on the left hand side of the housing and you'll find the striker reset spring. Use a fine-tipped tool to extract the spring, and if you don't find one, it's possible that it's been lost or it was just never installed to begin with. In some instances, the spring is broken in half or can be severely crushed due to improper installation, so verify that your spring looks like this new one. It's not bent or crooked, and it's about 0.3 inches long. Now that we have a new reset spring to install, let's reassemble the striker. Use a dab of grease on the new reset spring just to help hold it in place as we work. Place the spring inside the mouth of the channel on the housing and use a fine-tipped tool to push it in all the way to the opposite end. You can now compress the lock lever on the striker with your fingers and insert the striker body through the housing. Once it's in all the way, you should feel a slight spring tension if you hold the lock lever up while pulling forward on the striker body. Place the housing on a hard surface and slide the mainspring over the striker body and compress the mainspring so it falls below this edge on the striker's body. Now you can insert your first plastic retaining cup and your second retaining cup, and then slowly release the tension on the main spring. You can now insert the assembly into the slide body. Fit the slide cap 50% of the way in, and then use a plastic non-marring tool to push in the extractor spring guide. With the spring guide compressed, push the slide cap the rest of the way up with your thumb. The reassembly is now complete and we can test for function on the new part. First, dry fire the pistol and check the breech face. The head of the striker should no longer protrude and should not be visible because the striker will now retract itself immediately after firing. A second test you can do is hold down the striker lock lever and push the striker leg forward, then release the striker leg. The reset spring will immediately retract the striker back and the lock lever will prevent it from moving forward again.